Before I spent thousands of dollars on a master's degree, I had to ask myself a real hard question. Do I really need more education, or am I just missing the right experience? Hi there, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Anita Adefuye. I am the CEO and founder of Advanced and Fulfilled Coaching Company. We're a company that is dedicated to helping immigrated professionals advance their careers, establish their identities, and live fulfilled lives in Canada. And today we're on episode 5 of my 10-year career reflections in Canada series. And we're going to dive into a big one today. And this is a mistake that I see a lot of newcomers make. They show up, they think they need an education, and then they go pay for thousands, tens of thousands of dollars for an education, and then they end up not maybe using it, or it doesn't bring the kind of returns that they hope. But before you do that, because this is something I also walked the path, right? 10 years ago, it was the same situation that I found myself in, so I understand the need to want to go into an education. But for me, I want to share, I eventually figured out whether or not I needed the education and how I was able to identify that. And that's what I want to share with you today, is how I figured out that, what I needed, what gaps exactly I needed to close, and how I got to closing it. Okay, so if you're in Canada trying to break into your field, pivot careers, this video right now is going to be packed with value for you. And by the end, you'll know how to figure out when you need more education versus when you need more experience, and how to move forward regardless of what the situation is for you. All right, so let's jump in to today's video. And before we get right in, if you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, I strongly encourage you, go ahead and subscribe, hit that like button, turn on your notifications so you know every time that we drop a new video. And please drop a comment to let me know how whatever I'm saying is resonating with you and you're joining. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So when I came into Canada, as many of you know, especially if you've been following the series or you've been following along on this channel and some of the things that I share, I tend to share a lot about my own personal journey and what that has looked like in my own career, and then give practical strategies that people can employ and apply for themselves. So when I arrived, obviously I had a bachelor's degree, right? I had a bachelor's degree in international relations, and from a very, very good school. I had great results, and I had good experience, of course, the usual story everybody has, right? Great experience, great education, but then sooner than later, it starts to feel like it's not enough. Okay, I definitely felt like, okay, this wasn't landing. But here's the thing. For me, don't forget, this ties back to one of the things that I've mentioned before, which is have a career vision. I cannot overemphasize that enough. Have a career vision. So how I made that decision on what I needed to do, right, was to go back to my vision and say, okay, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? And what do I need at this time? Now, mind you, my ultimate goal for me, I wanted to work in government. That was a done deal. That was settled. I feel like I have a calling to the public service, whatever that looks like, right? I have a calling to the public service, and I just wanted to continue pursuing that. It was my last job that I held, even back in Nigeria, where I had moved from. And so I wanted to continue. And I also realized that while yes, ideally my biggest area of preference will be to do foreign policy, because I'm in the field of policy and public administration, while it would be more foreign policy because diplomacy, international relations aligns with my background, and it's what I always just wanted as a child, even growing up. But I just loved policy, period. It got to a point where it didn't almost even matter what policy. I just loved policy. I loved the writing, I loved the researching, I loved the talking to leaders and helping them figure out decisions that they need to make as they go about leading the country, the city, the province, whatever it is, right? And so, of course, I naturally started applying to jobs. But as I started applying to policy jobs at this point, I realized something. I started paying attention to the requirement section in the job description. And I noticed the same things that kept popping up again and again and again. One, for my field. Now, this is for my field. And quite frankly, if you take this concept and you plug into your field, whatever field it is, you will see the same things start to happen for you. You will notice the same things that I noticed. So I started noticing the following things that are popping up. Number one, they were requesting, at the time, they were requesting education bachelor's in public administration or related field. Do I have related field? Yes, I do. International relations. It doesn't get any more related than that, right? Two, they were requesting familiarity with regulations, legislation in general within Canada. Do I have regulatory experience within Canada? No. Do I have regulatory experience? Yes. But within Canada, within the Canadian context, no. Three, they were emphasizing on deep understanding of the Canadian public system. Do I have that? Obviously not, right? And four, there were other skills that they were asking for: writing skills, research skills, presentation skills, communication, and all of that. Do I have those skills? Many of those skills, especially the soft skills, I had. Now, when I look at where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do, it made me ask the question, what is my competitive advantage here? So I guess the first thing that you need to do is, what is your vision, right? Number one, what is your vision? Number two, as you're looking at these job descriptions, the question you're then asking is, what are your own skill sets? What is your competitive advantage? What are the things that you have that, as you're looking at those job description, it starts to tick off the box to say, yep, I have this, I have this, I have this. Those are your competitive advantage. So as I looked at those, I saw my competitive advantages were, now they'd asked for experience working in government. Do I have experience working in government? Yes. Is it Canadian government? No. But remember, they also said understanding of the Canadian public system, public sector, right? Which I also didn't have. So even though I now understood the things that I had, the question then becomes, how do I make sure that when I'm applying, I am standing out? Now, for me, eventually, of course, I decided to eventually get a master's degree because, and here's how I made that decision. Here's how I came to that conclusion. I'm looking at these job descriptions. I'm realizing I don't have good understanding of the Canadian public sector. Now I can do research, I can read up, and I can understand that. Number one. Number two, I always wanted to do my master's degree. As a matter of fact, I always wanted to do a PhD, right? And my master's degree just also sets me up for the opportunity to eventually do my PhD, okay, which I'm now doing, by the way. Eventually, and I'm in my second year, eventually sets me up to do my PhD, right? So I always wanted to do a master's degree. I always wanted to do a PhD. So you see, that wasn't even just about the master's, but also thinking about how does the master's today set me up for the PhD tomorrow. I had that thought process going. Number three, I wanted to get into government, but I also wanted to, I also was now looking for an opportunity. Now, I wanted to get into government, no doubt, but let me say that. And then as I started reflecting on, okay, what master's program are out there that can maybe give me that extra advantage, I realized, I'm in Regina, I realized that the University of Regina, the Graduate School of Public Policy at the University of Regina, actually has an internship, an executive internship component to their program. Now, in my mind, that just gave me an opportunity right there, which is, okay, I want to do my master's degree, check. This becomes, an advantage too. Right now, they're asking for bachelor's. Now, even though I have government experience, I don't have Canadian government experience. Even though I can read up and get knowledge and understand the Canadian public sector, there is advantage to going into a classroom and learning that fully, because then I'll be immersed into the system of it. So I saw an opportunity with the master's. Three, this was something that I didn't expect, but I found out as I started to do my research. Three, this program would offer me an opportunity to get my leg into government, because at this point, I had tried everything I could. I have applied to every layer of level. By the way, don't do that. Don't just apply to senior policy analyst today, deputy minister, and the mailroom clerk. True story of things I did. Don't do that. All right. I'd done that and nothing had come through. So I was at this point where I now knew that I just needed some form of entry points. So in the search of this research master's program, I realized that the executive internship can give me that. Now, this is the entire thought process that I put through to decide, okay, I need my master's degree, and okay, I can do the master's, and then and only then did I sign up for the master's degree. So you see that at the end of the day, as I'm looking at all of these things, I didn't just go and pay for a master's degree in hopes. Now, I also had to ask myself, if the executive internship didn't pan out, what was my plan B? And I had a plan B. But at the very least, it was that I would have the master's degree, and that gives me a competitive advantage. Now, I went to the master's also because if they're looking for bachelors, and I don't have the knowledge of Canadian public sector, nor the experience within Canadian public sector, the master's will close that gap for me. It will give me not just the knowledge, but the exposure from the way they are described that they do the program would have given me access to networks, would have given me some form of knowledge, because I like that they are very practical with their program, and they would, I'm not doing a free ad for Johnson & Shema right now, but it would give me practical insights into, because they use sometimes real life scenarios in the way they teach, and so it was going to give me all of that, and I could leverage that for a job, right? So the master's was supposed to set me out apart. Now get this, I didn't even finish my first year of master's when I realized that in job descriptions they now started asking for masters in public administration. So it was almost as if I saw the future, right? Now imagine if I didn't even have the master's at all, and I'd not even started, and then I now wanted to get in. Even when I had the bachelor's, it was a struggle. Now they're not asking for masters. I didn't finish first year when they started requiring master level education. So you see, that was a good move for me. I didn't just jump into it. What I see a lot of new immigrants do is that they just jump into things. Sit down and ask yourself, and that's why it's important you embark on this journey for your career before you arrive. Ask questions like, what do I want to do? What do I have? What skill sets would I need? What education would I require? What level of experience would I need? If there are gaps, what are those gaps? You'll identify them and then seek to understand, is this an educational gap or is this a skill gap? Whatever kind of gap, is it a gap that I can close by education or by experience? That's the question you want to start asking yourself, right? So very quickly, for me, that's how I made the decision. But very quickly, let me just run you through some very practical steps that you can then take just from the story that I have. So like I said, I did my master's, right? So I did my master's. The crazy thing is, as far as leg into government goes, I eventually didn't even get into government through the executive internship for the first time. I actually got in through a summer program. Again, maybe the education still helped, but I got in through a summer student program, and then eventually did my executive internship, which I got 4 offers from that executive internship. I got that in, and then I started. And then by the time I was on my executive internship, I didn't get retained where I did my internship. But guess what? Before the internship was over, I already had another job offer, right? And from that job offer, I did like 4x jump in less than a year. So you see that in my own case, the education was what I needed. It really helped, but I knew what exactly I was going in for, and I knew exactly how to apply that. So I want to leave you with this practical steps that you can take for yourself. So number 1, compare job descriptions. Okay, compare job description. Look at 5 to 10 job listings in your field or in your area of interest. Highlight common qualifications, common certifications, common tools, and keywords. And then ask yourself, what is consistently required that I don't have? Is it a degree, a certificate, or hands-on experience? Okay, so look at that and then identify what it is. Compare coupled number of job descriptions. It would uncover itself to you. Then number 2, talk to people in the field. Now there's something called informational interview. Maybe I'll do a video on that. If you want me to do a video on how to conduct informational interview and position yourself for career growth with that, please let me know in the comments below and I'll do a video on that, right? But I talked to a lot of people. I reached out to people who were in jobs that I wanted. I reached out to hiring managers in those places. One conversation can literally change everything. I had people who I would meet with tell me, man, you would be a great addition. You would be a great addition in government, right? And then they'll look at my resume and tell me what I need to change. In my program, in my master's, they always brought in senior leaders for our programs. I would make sure that I listen intently to things they're saying and things they're not saying, because sometimes there are things they're not saying, but then it's packed with so much wisdom. If you know, you know. Honestly, if you know, you know. All right, so talk to people. Okay, who are people in your field? By the way, if you're looking to go into public sector, I'm happy to chat with you. All right, and then number 3, ask yourself the following questions. Number 1, can I gain the missing skill through a course, boot camp, or internship? Okay, because sometimes you might not need to go to a master's degree. You might not need to even go do a diploma or whatever. It might just be a short course. Literally can be a LinkedIn short course to just add that to your resume, and that's it. Literally. But you wouldn't know if you're not seeking to understand. First, can I gain the missing skill through a course, a bootcamp, internship? Right. Number 2, what will the formal degree give me access to new network or new opportunities? Right. For me, for instance, clearly what I was missing wouldn't have been covered through any short course of any kind per se. Plus also because, it could have, if I did a certificate program, it could have. But like I said, I wasn't just thinking about in that moment, I was also thinking about the next level, right? Because even when I initially applied for my master's degree, what I applied for was master's in public policy, which is research oriented. And what I got was master's in public administration. And when they called to offer me administration as opposed to policy, public administration as opposed to public policy, the question I asked back was, I want to do a PhD later, will this impact me? And they said, no. Okay, fine. I will do course-based, right? As long as I still got my internship, as long as I got my master's, that's all I was worried about. That was what I needed, right? So will the formal degree give me access to new network or new opportunities? In my situation, the answer was yes, it was. And I could map out. If someone were to ask me, I can point those areas that I see it doing that for me. Now, will it always amount to something? Likely not, but at least it will give you better edge than where you were before. Then the third thing you need to ask is, do I need credentials to even get in the door in my field? A lot of people think they need those things to get their foot in the door. If you don't need that to get your foot in the door, find the easiest, cheapest, most possible way to get your foot in the door, and then you can grow from there. Like I said, within a year, less than a year, 4x the position from where I started is what I got in salary and in position. How do you do that? Because when you get in and you're a person of excellence, what you already carry will show. People will quickly identify that, okay, you carry more than you obviously came in with, right? And they will show, and you'll get rewarded for it, okay? So here's the rule of thumb that you need to keep in mind. If you're being overlooked before the interview stage, it might be an educational credential issue, maybe, right? But if you're getting interviews and not offer, it might be an experience or soft skill gap. So think about that, and keep that in mind. All right. So for me, I had to go pursue my master's in public administration. And it wasn't easy because I had kids. My daughter was 4 years old when I started my program. My son was less than a year or thereabout when I started, right? I had other responsibilities, but it was an investment that I was making, not just for that time, but for later. And guess what? Now I have left the government. I don't do it 9 to 5 anymore. I'm focused more on my PhD and my business and my academic career now, right? Now I'm building a career in academia, right? So doing the degree really helped me understand Canadian workplace a little better, especially in public sector. It really helped me build new professional network that I needed for where I was going, right? And it shows employers that I was also serious about integrating into the local system, because part of it too is I wanted to gain good understanding of the Canadian public sector, right? And most importantly, I got the interviews, landed the roles, and it aligned with my experience. No doubt education can help you open the door, but you want to make sure that it is the right one. That's why I'm taking the time to do this video. Okay, so let's talk about additional action steps that you can take if you feel stuck. And if it's education, if you find out that what you need is an education, then consider a Canadian diploma. It's 2 years. Like I said, for the cheapest option possible. Okay, consider a diploma, consider a postgrad certificate or a master's, depending on where you are and what you need. But please don't just do anyone for doing sake. It has to amount to something. What I also typically would advise, take a route that has some form of internship. That's second thing. If you're doing education route, take a route that has some form of co-op internship or any form of experience, right? Or career bridging programs, whatever. You want to make sure, because those are the ones that give you opportunity to really get your foot in the door. And oftentimes the ones that have internship co-ops, you are not the one that have to do the work looking for the employers. The employers already have partnership with the school, so it takes away the guesswork. And guess what? They will also equip you to make sure that you are fit for those roles, because it reflects on them when the interns that they provide are not the best. So they do the work and they'll equip you to make sure that you come up to speed. Okay, that's the second thing. Number 3, when you're now, if you choose to do education routes, please don't just go to school. In my university, in Obafemi Awolowo University, Great Ife, all right, be serious. In my university in Nigeria, in Obafemi Awolowo University, it's actually the best university in Nigeria and Africa. One of the things they used to say is, don't just go through the school, let the school go through you. So if you're doing an educational route, please don't just go through the school, let the school go through you. What that means is that use the school as a way to build network, build social capital with your colleagues. You have colleagues in class who are actually hiring managers. One of the internship opportunities I got, that's how I got it. It was from a classmate who is actually a hiring manager who also who was just doing the master's just to brush up her own skills. And we connected in the class and she really liked me. And, when there was an opportunity for her to hire intern, she wanted me, right? And unfortunately, I turned that one down. Okay, but network, you get the point, okay? Now, what if you decide that experience is what you're missing and that's what you need? Number 1, you can volunteer, find volunteer opportunities, even if it's short-term roles, short-term projects that you're going to do, even if it's on ad hoc basis. But find a way to volunteer in your field, because experience is experience in Canada. It doesn't matter if you got it paid, volunteering, whatever, right? So find a way to volunteer in your field, okay? That's number 1. Number 2, get a part-time or contract role that builds specific skills. I will do a video one day about I'll do a video about temporary jobs. People run away from temporary jobs, but it can be a big hack. I'll talk about that. Actually, fun fact, in all my time in government, I never held a permanent position. Don't feel bad for me, because it was very intentional too and very strategic. Initially, I was worried, and then until my eyes opened to the beauty of what I had been gifted. And then I got a permanent position, and guess what? I resigned from that permanent position to a temporary position again, and then resigned from that one finally, right? But people worry about that. So find a part-time, temporary position, whatever. Build specific skill sets that just positions you. All right, that's 2. Number 3, join your industry associations and network. Honestly, network. It can never be overemphasized, okay? Join your industry association, attend their events, show up to those things, talk to people, put yourself out there, even online, okay? And then number 4, freelance or take on side projects to fill those gaps. However you can find them, even if it means you're going to go offer your services. Volunteer organizations are always a good place to start, right? Even if community associations rather, are always a good place to volunteer your time. No community organization, no volunteer run organization would ever say no to free services that you have to offer. But you know what they would likely say yes to, especially if you do a good job, is for them to put referrals in for you for when there's an opportunity. So you want to make sure that you identify, do I need education or do I need experience? If I need education, then what is my best way to get that education? And don't forget, find something that has internship co-op component that allows you to have some workplace placement opportunity. And if it's experience route, then find other ways to figure it out. Sometimes the best way to get it is just, even if it means that you're going to take a step down of something, get in the field, in the organization, and then build from there. Whatever that is, I want you to just at least make the decision, make an informed decision. Don't just jump into it. School can very easily rack up costs for you. I'm talking tens of thousands. Like, I'm doing a PhD right now, and PhD is supposed to be cheaper even, but it's like, okay, really, what are we doing here? We're adding to the body of knowledge. How am I spending so much money on school fees, right? It racks up very easily. You don't want to start your journey in Canada in debt. Please don't do that. And even if you had the money to pay for it, trust me, there are other things you can do with that money, so go do it with that. Okay. And then sometimes it might not be either or, it might be that you need a little bit of both. Okay. Again, the key here is start with the lowest effort, highest return, and then move on, and then till you get to the peak of where you want to go. All right, so there you have it. Episode 5, how I made my decision on whether or not I needed education and the steps that I took to determine that, and how I eventually went about doing that. Now, to figure out whether or not you need more education is a personal journey, quite frankly, but I promise you that as you identify the gaps and close it, things typically would move. It will start moving. Okay, have you ever struggled with this? Let me know in the comments. Are you thinking of going back to school? Let me know in the comments. Are you trying to get that Canadian experience? I want to know in the comments. If this has helped you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more in this series and other series. All right, the other things that we're sharing just to help immigrated professionals advance their career. And don't forget to share with someone navigating their career journey in Canada. You've got this. Cheering for you all the way, rooting for you, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks and bye.